Recon Athlete Podcast is brought to you by Kreitz Market, The Social, and Focus Fit San Marcos. All right, Recon Athlete, episode 73. Chris Sanchez, Paul Rodriguez on the line. What up, bro?
What's the haps, man?
Oh, man, you know, chilling and still quarantining. Apparently, we don't have to as much on Friday, I guess. But I don't know, man. I'm a little bit weary about this thing. So, you know, I'm still going to be doing masks, still, you know, going to stay away from people. The one thing that quarantine has taught me is to stay away from people even more than I've already stayed away from them my entire life. So, you know, I'm okay with it. You know, restaurants are supposed to be able to close or open up to 25% capacity. You know, yeah, Michelle, it's a new intro. She's been missing it. She commented on the watch party. Shout out to my cousin as well. John, he's on the watch party too. I tell you what, I'm still gonna roll out with the mask. I'm still gonna quarantine most of the time, Paul. I know things are a little bit different down in Lockhart, America. You know, things have been kind of a little bit more back to normal down there. It's been about a week and a half since the shelter in place in Lockhart, you know, went away. So everything back to normal down there, or what?
I mean, for the most part, it appears that most things are back to normal. I mean, one thing I think we'll continue to see, and it's pretty prevalent here, is any merchants that you're going to frequent, everybody's going to pretty much have a mask on for the most part.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very proactive, you know, attempt for people to protect themselves and to protect others. And I think we're going to see that a lot. You know, there's a lot of mixed feelings right now, but I think being proactive, and I think, you know, putting a mask on, I think is okay. I don't think it's, you know, like an abomination or anything. Some people, you know, there's so much hyperbole out there right now in social media, and there always is. But I think right now it's a time to be cautious. But I think people need to go out, and I think people need to live their lives. I'm not saying, you know, be wild and be naive to the fact that there's something out there, because I really believe there is. But at the same time, you know, be cautious and be proactive. And you want to make sure that your health, stays intact. But I believe, I'm very grateful for Governor Abbott taking the initiative to lead the nation, so to speak. I mean, I believe that there's a lot of things going on that we don't see. The agency I work for, there's a lot of surveillance going on with the virus. And I think that we're going to see a lot of great advancements from the private sector be implemented so that we can have sports. And I think we'll get into that a little bit more as, the show goes on.
Yeah. It's exciting to try to get back to normal, but I think, just be cautiously optimistic. I think everybody's kind of on board with that. We're going to do a little bit of draft talk, a little draft recap. Also talk a little bit of Last Dance. You been watching that, Paul? The documentary about the Bulls in the 98 season?
I usually don't watch it when it comes out just because my internet seems to lag when I stream.
Yeah.
So what I do is on Monday morning, while I'm working, I have it playing in the background so I can kind of just keep an eye on what's happening. But I've enjoyed it, man. It's been really eye-opening. And I know that's probably a cliche term that a lot of people use, but I've learned a lot, man. And I've learned a lot about Michael Jordan that I didn't know before. And, we can get into it a little bit, but I have, man. I've been keeping up with it, and I'm excited for the rest of the series.
All right. Well, you know what? Let's just go ahead and get into it then. Shout out to Zach. He said, Governor Abbott just wants to be back to going out for coin flips at football games. Hashtag coin flip goat. He is a coin flip goat. He's been doing coin flips even since before he was a governor of Texas. So shout out to Governor Abbott doing the coin flips at Texas high school football games. Yeah, Paul, let's talk about it since you brought it up. Last Dance, Bulls documentary. You said you've learned a few things about Michael Jordan that you didn't know before. Maybe give us one.
Michael Jordan can cuss.
That's what he does,
man.
Right?
And that's what's really cool. And the biggest takeaway that I've witnessed so far is that, in my opinion, everybody elevated the mythology of Michael Jordan. And what I've come to understand, and everybody can hate all they want, but to me, Michael Jordan didn't have the skill set, the basketball skill set Kobe inherently had, in my opinion.
Right.
Michael Jordan didn't have the inherent athleticism that LeBron James had.
Yep.
And what I've come to understand is that through sheer will, Michael Jordan created Air Jordan just by sheer will, dedication, and work. Like, he put in so much work to get himself to become superhuman. He was just a regular human, and I think we see that watching this documentary.
Mm-hmm.
And compared to like Rodman and like Rodman is an athletic freak, in my opinion. I think Scottie Pippen is an athletic basketball player as far as skill set. And you watch those guys and they seem a little bit introverted. They seem a little bit timid. But Michael, he's very boisterous. He has a lot of a big bravado, and I'm sure that comes from all the work he put in. But I think he knows he had to do that. Yeah. He was like a regular guy like you and us, and he got lucky he grew to 6'6", but I think he grew to 6'6", and he developed this mythology to become Air Jordan and this lifestyle brand that now exists. But he turned himself into a superhuman. I don't believe he was born with it. And that was the big thing that I kind of took away, was like, man, this dude cusses just like us. I mean, he gets angry just like we get angry. Mm-hmm. And I really didn't see that. It wasn't captured as well, I believe, through the 90s, because of course, we didn't have like social media or the internet as prevalent today. But to see Michael Jordan in a setting where he can be himself, I think is awesome. But at the same time, you can really see how much work he had to put in to become great.
Yeah, I mean, he really did. I mean, I think a lot of times, especially those of us that are in that generation that can remember, watching these teams, we forget, in the late 80s when, Michael Jordan was, losing to the Detroit Pistons and wasn't winning all the championships. I mean, you think of Michael Jordan, it's like, you think about his career, it's like, oh, he won a championship every year. And it almost seemed like he did, because, I mean, they ended up winning 6. But still, I mean, you kind of you lose that part where, you know, they were getting beat up by the Pistons, you know, the bad boys and all, and they were, you know, just not being able to get over that hump, you know, and they talked about it a little bit, how the Pistons were like, or the Celtics were like that with the Pistons. The Pistons got past the Celtics, and then, you know, the Pistons were the boogaboo for the Bulls until the Bulls were finally able to sweep them and get over that hump, and then go on to beat the Magic and the Lakers for their first NBA championship. And, you know, you watch just the emotion that Michael Jordan had after that. You could just see like all of the years of dedication that he had all poured out, you know, once he finally got that NBA trophy. But I will say this, the story is great. I love, you know, everything that they're doing with it. But you have to like sit down and really watch it, because they go back and forth of that timeline, you know.
Yeah.
They keep going, like, so like if you get up during the Last Dance, you get up not during a commercial, you might miss something, because you might come back and they might be, you know, back in the early 90s or late 80s, you know. So that's my only issue with this documentary. And I mean, and also, like, I was thinking like they were gonna be just focusing on the 97-98 season, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But they've got a lot of other side, you know, stories and stuff. And don't get me wrong, you know, they're great. You know, the episode about Rodman, and, you know, how he, you know, took off to Vegas to party and stuff. And I mean, that's really cool. But the way that they, you know, had put it out there was like, okay, yeah, this is going to be totally about the season, but it's really not like that. So I'm kind of disappointed in that aspect of it. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, we're only 2 weeks into it, Chris. I mean, this is supposed to be a 10-week event, and I think
it's 10 episodes.
Okay, so we're 40% through it. I mean, we still have 60% left to go. And with that being the case, I mean, in my opinion, I don't really think ESPN, as great as their editors are, would be able to complete a compelling 10-piece documentary if it was only focused on one season. But I think it gives great backstory to the characters that are going to be pivotal in this run, and I think they're kind of giving you a backstory every episode, so that when I think the climax of the documentary is there, mm-hmm. I think you have a better appreciation of what they've had to overcome character by character, so that you can have that big climax. But I think the story is going extremely well, and I'm kind of surprised you weren't as captivated as I've been, man, because I don't feel the need to kind of stray away while it's going on in the background, because to me it's just riveting, in my opinion, based off all the stories and the sub stories that are kind of going on, and as they integrate. I mean, because remember, Rodman was on the Pistons in the 80s, yeah. And then he goes to San Antonio through his metamorphosis, and when he gets to Chicago, he's a different kind of athlete, different kind of person, and you know, he meets a different kind of characters, Madonna, Carmen Electra, and becomes, you know, Rodman, this character, the Worm. And so I think with the backstories and the first couple episodes with Jerry Krause, I think that's the antagonist. So they really, you know, were able to create an enemy off the jump, mm-hmm. so that they can, as the story goes on, they can say, hey, this was the bad guy, but he was also the guy who created, you know, this magical team for the 97-98 season.
Yeah. And I think also another aspect of the show or the documentary that I liked was Phil Jackson, you know, and how they kind of show, you know, him in college and how he came through the ranks, how basically he took over Doug Collins's job at one point. And, you know, just I really, you know, like to see, you know, say what's up, you know, to Zach Lucetto, because he keeps waving on the on the watch party. Why don't you call in, Zach?
Read a comment. Yeah, why don't you call in, Zach?
I read his comment. He just commented a picture of is that Will Smith's son? Yeah, I don't know. But anyways, yeah, how Phil Jackson, and back in the documentary, how Phil Jackson, you know, came through the ranks, and they kind of made a comparison of Phil and Dennis Rodman a little bit. And I think I guess you're right, man. I guess we'll get more into the season. We still got a few episodes left, so we'll see. I don't know. I've been going through a lot the past few days, Paul Rodriguez, so I'm kind of been distracted a little bit. Hopefully things will get settled down for me and I'll be able to enjoy these last few episodes of The Last Dance. All right, Recon Athlete, episode number 73. Chris Sanchez, Paul Rodriguez. Shout out to Zach Luceto. Shout out to everybody that's on the watch party. Shout out to Melanie Melanson Boutwell. Zach's on there. Snoop Daniels on there. Shout out to Stuart Newton, Joel Velasco, John Paul. And Wes was on there for a little bit. See if he's on there. Still on there, Wes? Maybe he'll come back.
I think I saw the Sarge.
Emilio. Shout out Emilio. Shout out to the Sarge. Are you going to go back next Monday? I heard.
Yeah, man. May the 4th, I will be there for and what is the most important game of my senior season, the 2001 Lockhart Lion football season, when we played Dripping Springs at Drip. This is before their beautiful, immaculate stadium was built. It's actually on the same field, except.
Sorry, man. Sorry, Paul. Dude, why are you calling right in the middle? Why are you calling right in the middle of Paul's story? I said, why did you call right in the middle of Paul's story?
I didn't know Paul was doing the story. I was calling in.
Oh, okay. So anyways, Paul, we're talking about May the 4th. You're going to be on Lions Pride Sports Broadcast. You're going to do the 2001 game against Dripping Springs, right?
That's right. That game is important just because it allowed us to compete for a playoff spot. And back then, 18 years ago, 18 years ago, Lockhart hadn't been in the playoffs in 30 years, since 1971, and that game was 2001, and so we were able to compete to play for a playoff spot. And again, they only took 3 of them at that time, so it was a really great game. The Lions did win that game, but I remember that game vividly due to the fact that I played Ironman football the whole game due to some injuries, and I caught the nastiest, vicious, vile cramp in my calf I'd ever felt in my life. And that's the most excruciating pain I've ever felt. So I hope I never feel it again, but it's a great game. It's tight. It's a blow-by-blow game. And the reason it's important is because Dripping Springs then beat Bastrop, and we were able to knock off Dripping Springs to have the tiebreaker.
Man, the reason why it's important is because you were playing in it, Paul. Golly. Duh. Right?
No, man. There's a lot of people that were playing. There's a lot of people that were playing in that football game, man. And it's just a testament to the whole team. And once you start watching those games and that you were the contributor of, it puts things in perspective. And I mean, I was grateful just to be there because, I mean, if y'all haven't watched it, go check out, that game over there. And gosh, man, I just never knew I'd talk so much shit. That's something I forgot.
That's right. May the 4th, it'll be on Lions Pride Sports broadcast. That's on Facebook. You can watch Facebook Watch live there. It's going to be Paul Rodriguez and the Sarge and Coach Amato Galvez. Zach Lucero, what's up, dude?
What's up? How y'all doing?
Oh, man, we're chilling, bro. You got anything to say about The Last Dance? You been watching the documentary about the Bulls?
I definitely understand your point that you made about it kind of being back and forth on the timeline.
Yeah.
But I think after that Aaron Hernandez documentary, the McMillions documentary, I mean, I feel like I was real prepared for when it came out,
Yeah, because
I made it through the minors, and now I'm ready for The Last Dance.
Yeah, you ready? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you've been practicing for this.
Yeah.
I'm just not I don't know. I mean, I guess the skipping of the timelines kind of confuses me every now and then. I'm just like, I don't know. I guess maybe my attention span isn't as good as it used to be. But
well, I mean, I've kicked it over there while we're trying to watch something. You just fall asleep. So yeah, if you fall asleep for 30 minutes, it's going to be a new section of the show.
old grandpa falls asleep. He goes to the bank and goes visits there, does his deposits, and then falls asleep watching TV. But yeah, no, I get you. Anything else about the anything that you learned about the Bulls or about Michael Jordan that you didn't know before?
That they've always been in Chicago.
Oh, okay. All right, Recon Athlete, episode 73. Chris Sanchez, Paul Rodriguez, Zach Lucero. All right, we talked a little bit about The Last Dance. Shout out to everybody that's on the watch party right now. Shout out to Snoop Daniel. And shout out to Flex ATX, FLX ATX. Draft. Yeah, it was last weekend. We've had a couple of days to kind of mull it over, right? We've had a couple of days to think about it. What's your biggest takeaway from the draft on this past weekend, Paul? You there?
Dallas. Oh. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No. Just I was trying to make sure I didn't cough on there. But I just think that the NFL draft came off, with a lot of hits. I think just the production value was as good as it could have been, and you just got to give props out to the IT people and Microsoft as their tech partner. They didn't embarrass the NFL, and I think that was the biggest thing. But as far as personnel, I really didn't keep up with all the other picks. I noticed that New England didn't draft a quarterback. Dallas did draft a quarterback in the 7th round. Dallas decided to move back up in the 4th round to pick the center that we had told them to pick out of Wisconsin. And yeah, we'll see Aaron Rodgers probably in another team next year. That's the other thing I'm taking away from this draft.
Zach Lucero, is the draft so far behind us? Is it? Do you have anything else to say about it, or should we move on?
I feel like Recon did a really good job covering it, like with the live stream on the first day, with our coverage on Saturday, and I feel like we got all kind of the main points out of the way.
All right, yeah. I feel you. I'm kind of feel the same way. I did want to talk about it a little bit. That we've been able to kind of mull it over, but I'd have to just agree with Paul. Dallas, had their picks fall into their laps, and thankfully Jerry had people around him on his yacht that didn't allow him to make stupid decisions. So shout out to Jerry's yacht people. And
I just want to real quick. I want to give a shout out to whoever sent Jerry Jones our podcast or our live stream, because Dallas never moves up to go get a lineman. And I really feel somebody on the inside sent Jerry Jones this message to say, hey, you go get this guy from Wisconsin because he's not going to be here at the 6th round. So stop drafting quarterbacks and go get your needs.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, and then, Baltimore Ravens did good. I thought the Colts did well as well, also. So, we'll see. NFL draft, hopefully they can start playing NFL games sometime soon. Well, not soon, but when, we're supposed to. Speaking of games, kind of throw this out there, other topics as assigned. Major League Baseball. You guys hear about the possibility of a June start, Zach? Did you see that?
No, I did not see that, actually.
So
tell me more.
I will tell you more, Zach. So what they're wanting to do is maybe start in mid to late June. What they want to do is try to get 100 to 110 games in. They want to, instead of having American League, National League, they want to try to have 3 different divisions. There's 30 teams in Major League Baseball, so they want to have an East Division, a Central Division, and a West Division. 10 teams in each division, and they're kind of, for the most part, everything is all the teams are put together geographically, except for the Rangers and the Astros. For some reason, I guess it's just where the teams are. I mean, a lot of the teams are in the middle of the country, obviously, but the Rangers and the Astros, they are put in what's called the West Division. So that's with like San Diego, Oakland, both the LA teams, Seattle, Colorado, like all the teams out west, Arizona, all the teams out west, all those teams in the West Coast, and then the Rangers and Astros. Like like the Yankees and the Mets and the Red Sox and there's a Florida team. Like all the East Coast teams are together, all the Central Midwest teams are together, and then all the West teams, including the Rangers and the Astros. I'm kind of like, almost like the Rangers and the Astros just got thrown out in the West just because, even though Texas isn't, I mean, I guess people think of Texas as like the Southwest. But so what they're trying to do is have this 110 game season, have it start June to late June and do those 3 different divisions. What I haven't seen yet is whether or not they're going to have, designated hitters. I mean, obviously American League, you have designated hitters. National League, you don't. I haven't seen what they're going to do with that. Maybe they get rid of the designated hitter altogether for this season. The playoffs are going to be different, obviously, but the goal right now for Major League Baseball is to have a 100 to 110 game season, have 3 10-team divisions, no fans. I think the big things, the big barriers to this right now that I've seen, owners are wanting the players to take pay cuts. Now, I want to get y'all's opinion on this. Because of the lack of fans, so lack of ticket sales, parking, concessions, all that other stuff, the billionaires want to cut the salaries of the millionaires. And I think all us thousandaires and hundredaires out here could care less. Thoughts about this? Because that seems to be a barrier to starting these games late and starting them without fans. Is the billionaires want to cut the salary of the millionaires? Do you think that's fair, Zach Luceto?
No, I think I think if you're accepting the fact that your sport comes before, if you're willing to play your sport with no fans, you're putting the sport first, I think.
Okay.
So I think that is agreeing to do that is a compromise, and you have to make all of the little compromises with it. That means the billionaires aren't going to make as much money as they would in the regular season. By bottom line. So I don't think you should start nickel and diming all these other people just to get you some money back. Like I saw something about college football that said that a lot of regents and stuff like that, and people with the conferences are saying that if they have to play with no fans, they won't play at all because of how much money that they're losing. So I feel like, which is the complete opposite of what baseball is trying to do, where you're not putting the sport before the money. So I feel like it's an either or kind of thing.
Yeah. So I mean, the billionaires are basically saying we're not going to make as much money, so we want to cut the millionaires, cut their salary. But they're not really saying anything about all the people that aren't working at all. The people that do the concessions, people that do security, everything else that makes it run. They're not really saying anything about that. And that kind of bothers me, especially where we're at right now, where there's, 23 million people unemployed. Billionaires are complaining that they're not going to make enough money, so they're not going to be able to pay their millionaires as much. Doesn't sit right with me. Doesn't do a whole lot for Major League Baseball, in my opinion. Paul Rodriguez, what do you think about that?
Man, I don't give a good goddamn. I think these owners need to look through this in a financial situation and say, look, pay your people, take the L, expense it on your taxes, do what's right, and you won't have these issues. If you really want to take things up a notch, renegotiate your money deals with your TV people.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to do that. I promise you, advertisers have tons and tons of millions of dollars ready to spend on any sports because we've been in a drought for 3 months or 2 months. All the money that people lost with the NBA, I'm sure those advertisers would love to spend it on baseball. They would love to spend it on anything. But I'm not going to be worrying about a billionaire saying, "Oh, well, we're not going to make as much money." Okay, great. This is 1 year. Take the L, expense it on your taxes, keep it moving. And that's great because if that's the sense they want, go ahead and keep alienating your fans. Keep alienating the younger fan because your sport is not growing right now. So long story short, NASCAR, I bet you they're going to be able to pay people. I bet you they're not having an issue with their drivers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Long story short, the advertisers are going to want to go where the fans are going to watch. And if you're going to alienate your fans, advertisers probably aren't going to want to spend the money there.
Yeah, very true. So I have no empathy or sympathy for billionaires. Kind of feel sorry for the millionaires, the players, because the players just want to play. But, you know, all of my concern is for all the people that, you know, aren't working right now. You know, I mean,
yep.
Billionaires are worrying about their dollars. It's like, dude, you're gonna be fine. Yeah, you don't have to work ever. You know, I mean, you make millions of dollars a day just on interest. Like, what's your, you know? I mean, I understand it. You know, as a finance person, you know, working in a finance department, I understand that. You know, but this is at these times right now. I mean, that's got to kind of take a back seat. So. We'll see about the Major League Baseball. We'll see if that's going to happen. And, you know, if they can come to agreement to allow this June start to happen for Major League Baseball. I hope so because I did my fantasy draft last Friday. I think I talked about that on Saturday. All right, Recon Athlete, episode 73, Chris Sanchez, Paul Rodriguez, Zach Lucetto. We'll talk about Jameis Winston being signed by the Saints here in a little bit. But another topic as assigned, Snoop Daniel was talking about this earlier. And we've talked about this before, but I just wanted to shout out to Snoop and because he was talking about, you know, the college players being able to make money off their likeness. And one of the questions that he had just, you know, kind of sitting on the couch is so-and-so from Tarleton State going to be able to make money? So he was like, so can they make their own shirts and sell them? And that's okay. I don't know. I guess so. Zach, would you do that if you were going to Tarleton State playing baseball?
Well, this is something that I brought up before the last time we talked about this. And you don't remember anything because it's fall asleep all the time. So
True.
Paul probably remembers.
I don't.
But I was like, I wonder what's going to keep the locally good player that has a scholarship offer to Tarleton
mm-hmm.
and a walk-on opportunity at Texas
mm-hmm.
from going to Tarleton instead of Texas, where if he goes to Texas, he can market the fact that he's a current Longhorn football player.
Okay.
And that has way more marketability than marketing, I play football at Tarleton.
So that's, go ahead, Paul.
So Zach, that's a very good point. Have either of you read the NCAA guidelines for making money, or what is allowed and what is not allowed? Have y'all read that or looked at it yet?
The only thing I've read lately is the benefits package for Manor ISD. So the only thing that's been the
you lost me at. Have any of you read?
Okay, great.
That's been the
Zach, I really hope you read for your work today. So I really hope. I'm just saying, I really hope you did. But getting back to the point is that the NCAA is going to make this murky, and they've already started. And they've started out by saying what Zach just brought up, marketability. And what they're saying is we're not going to allow any student athlete to take third-party sponsor deals. Well, what are third-party sponsor deals? Sponsors with Nike, sponsors with the car dealership, sponsors with this person. But that's not to say you can't take a photo with a fan and charge X amount of dollars. That doesn't mean you can't go to an appearance and charge X amount of dollars. So as far as the marketability, the NCAA is trying to make this convoluted so that there is ambiguity. And they're not going to let these kids have agents. So it's going to make things even more difficult because of the legalese. So one thing that these young men really got to understand is like, well, what's the difference between me signing an autograph for $10,000 at a booster at Alabama or Texas compared to signing a $10 shirt at Tarleton State? Those are what I think we're going to have an issue with. Not the marketability, so to speak, but the types of donors that these universities currently have or can garner. And that's going to be the big hiccup that the NCAA is going to face. But they're going to make this as difficult as possible because they really don't want this to happen. But with the G League coming, and I feel with a private company coming in and buying the XFL after it clears bankruptcy court, these pro sports leagues have an issue. And the only way the NCAA has an issue with these smaller professional leagues garnering talent that they used to make money off of for free, that being the NCAA.
Zach?
No, I mean, I feel like he basically just kind of said what we already knew. So I mean, it's still like it's still kind of up in the air. Like until it happens, no one really knows how it'll go. I mean,
Yeah,
it's going to happen next. It's going to happen in the 21-22 season.
so
it's around the corner.
Yeah, let me get. I got ESPN.com up here. Go ahead, Zach.
No, so I was just clearing my throat. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So there was proposed changes to this. Because they're the NCAA, they're trying to go through this and figure out what's going to be allowed, what's not allowed. So the proposed changes that they had Tuesdays would be open the door for athletes to sign endorsement deals with a wide variety of third-party companies. The changes would also make it possible for athletes to monetize their social media channels, profit from writing a book or making a music album, host a sports camp, and start a business, among other potential opportunities. Athletes would be allowed to mention their status as a college athlete and the school they attend in advertising. They wouldn't be able to use the school's logo for branding in those advertisements. Social media channels, writing a book or making a music album, hosting a sports camp, starting a business. I think all can be something that, especially the sports camps. I think that would be big. I know every student athlete these days thinks they're a rapper or a country singer or something like that. So, we will we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure everybody's going to try to make an album now. So they do not allow, the proposed changes do not allow schools to pay athletes directly or to provide any assistance to athletes in setting up endorsements. So basically the athletes can do all this stuff, but they have to do it without the help of the school or using the school that they attend to, help with, selling themselves. So basically what this is doing is you got to go out there and you got to be FanStan or Flex ATX or Recon Athlete. You got to go out there and sell yourself. And I think they're opening the door for these kids to make money, but I think it's going to be up to the kids and, the people around them, to sell. I mean, I know the top guys are going to be able to sell themselves, but I think there's going to be a lot of potential of social media stars out there that, that these kids they're not able to monetize themselves on social media. But I mean, I think could possibly the monetization on social media, could that be possibly the biggest revenue for these kids, Paul Rodriguez?
I mean, it potentially could be, but I think that, and there's going to be a lot more smarter individuals than us or any other kind of pundit talking head who could think of an idea. There are going to be people who are probably already crafting gimmicks that are legal and within the guidelines to get these young people hundreds of thousands, if not close to millions of dollars. But I mean, I think YouTube is a viable option. I think, monetizing your Instagram is a viable option. It's going to be basically just money. Who's willing to trade goods for services? I mean, whatever somebody holds a value for or value of, they're willing to give you cash for it or compensation. People are going to pay the money for it.
There's going to be big personalities that are riding the bench that can sell themselves on social media, right, Zach?
Right, but I'm saying if you were surfing through YouTube, Chris, looking for something interesting to watch, or if you're some just Joe Schmo person, and there was a video that said, "I walked on at the University of Texas. Here's my story," versus "I play football at A&M Corpus. They don't have a football team. But I play football at A&M Corpus. Here's my story.
Or Incarnate Word.
Yeah, Incarnate Word. You're going to get way more views, and you're going to be able to sell yourself so much more by saying that you play football at Texas. So I think this rule is going to be to the detriment of these mid-major universities.
So you're saying what I think I hear you saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the potential to monetize yourself at a bigger university will trump your ability to actually play the sport actually get on the field of a smaller university. Is that what you're trying to say?
So.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. And if you're someone who needs the money to support your family, or you have some sort of extreme circumstance where you really need money, and you're going to and that's going to weigh huge in your college decision.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to see people taking that route.
That's interesting. I'm getting your point now. I'm a little slow. I'm older, grandpa over here. I see what you're saying. And Paul, what do you think about that take where you got a student athlete who could go play at Tarleton State and chooses to walk on at Texas because maybe he already has a lot of followers on Instagram or YouTube or Chit Chat, or Talk Tick or, whatever.
Or even like in terms of a channel like Recon. If someone reached out to us and said, "Hey, I play football at UIW. I would love to help promote you guys' company and what you guys do. Why don't you let me take over the account for a weekend or something like that?" Versus if someone said, "I play football at University of Texas. I would love to take over the account." Because so many more people are tied to the University of Texas, that dude's reach is so much further than someone, whether they're playing or not at Tarleton State.
Okay. So however many followers they have on Click Clock, will kind of determine where they're going to go to football. But Paul, you say you're hearing what we're saying here. What do you think about this?
First of all, we're going to book the UIW guy first, and then as soon as football season gets closer, we're going to definitely book the guy from the University of Texas. Zach, that's a great point. But I also, to play devil's advocate, I kind of think about the case where, if that athlete is going to not take the scholarship at UIW and go play at the University of Texas and weigh those two options, yeah, that's pretty viable. But I think a lot of these young athletes, they're not going to university for athletics just to make money. I think they want to go compete and make money. So there's definitely going to be a give and a take, but I think your point is valid. It's just, I think there's going to be a big gray area, and I think that really down the line, someone's going to learn how to really take advantage of these new guidelines to the best of their ability. But again, it's all about your financial situation, and if you really need to help out the family, you're going to take the best avenue possible. But I don't know. I think I always think of worst case scenario, and I just feel like with student athletes being able to make money, I feel like universities are going to figure out a way to get money to those student athletes to get them to the university.
And I think
it's going to be a very dangerous situation because if people don't know cheating happens, the only reason you don't know about it is because that university stops after the first two prompts. When you get to the third, fourth, and fifth prompt, then we see what happens at Ohio State. While the beginning of Urban Meyer's tenure, you see what happens, at SMU, where their whole program is done for 30 years. So that's the real big issue that I see with that. But I'm grateful that the NCAA is coming around to let student athletes make money off of their name and likeness. We'll just see who's able to take advantage of the market. We're going to see before our eyes pretty soon.
Zach?
Just for example, for you guys,
Okay.
Kirk Johnson, the running back for Texas.
Okay.
He hardly plays. He has a YouTube channel with over 35,000 subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's like a really great example of someone that is using the reach of not only Texas, not only like his family, but the University of Texas to build a brand that he's going to be able to now, because this wasn't passed when he was in college, he's going to be able to use the reach of his university, and he built this brand to monetize this now that he's out of college.
All right. I mean, that's a great point. I mean, so it would kind of be like where they're sitting at as far as like subscribers or followers or, you know, whatever, as they're coming out of high school though. Right, Zach? I mean, like, do you think that somebody would say, hey, I've only got 1,000, I've got, 100 subscribers on YouTube. If I go to University of Texas, this could go to 10,000. If I go to Tarleton, it's going to go to 1,000. Is that what we're saying here? I mean, do you think an athlete would think in that terms, or would they say, I want to go play football and I'm going to go to Tarleton State?
I think it depends. I mean, even if you ask like some of the top athletes in their respective sports,
mm-hmm.
like what their dreams are, where they want to, like why they're playing the sport. You see with Jalen Green taking the G League offer.
Right.
It's becoming less of like for the love of the game, and it's a bad culture. People are taking money into these considerations.
Yeah.
And so I think if you have a kid who just wants to make money, who maybe doesn't see themselves playing football after college, they might as well make the money while they can. And I mean, if you play football, like if you have a YouTube channel at all,
mm-hmm.
or even don't have one, all it takes is for the University of Texas football's Instagram page to say, hey, check out walk-on Chris Sanchez's YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
That'll get you thousands of followers,
right,
off of just that.
Right. Yeah, and so and Zach, you've mentioned that phrase, that's been coined here on Recon Athlete by Zach Lucero, the bag culture. Meaning that these kids, that might need money are, you might be right. The athlete that's 5'11", 195 pounds, runs a 4.6 or 4.7 40, probably doesn't have a future in the NFL. So either go play middle linebacker, at, and we keep saying Tarleton, but shout out Tarleton, go play middle linebacker at Mary Hardin Baylor, or, go try to walk on at Texas State or University of Texas, and be one of the guys that does the hype stuff on the kickoff, on the sideline, and have a big YouTube following and get money that way. That's a now I'm thinking about it, Zach. That's a total viable option, and I don't see why somebody that would have that option wouldn't take it. I mean, honestly, and Zach, I've never really thought about it. I'm 40 years old, so I don't know. I don't know how this, the social media thing, can work in that advantage, for the individuals. But I think you got a great point. I think you finally pulled me over to the dark side, and to the fact that some of these kids might just see the dollar signs right now rather than the memories that they might make on the field. Is that kind of what we're saying, right?
Yeah, and I think especially now that entrepreneurism, or whatever, however you say it, is so like prominent.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to build a brand. Everyone wants to start a company. Everyone wants to do these things themselves and use themselves as the marketer, use themselves as the starting point, and be just that, an entrepreneur. And what better way to achieve that goal than starting with an audience,
Yeah, absolutely. And we're talking here on Recon Athlete episode number 73, talking about, these NCAA athletes being able to make money off their likenesses. And another part of the article here on ESPN.com is, can college athletes hire agents? So the article reads, athletes would be allowed to hire agents and other professionals, accountants, for example, to help them with business opportunities. The specifics about how athletes can hire these types of advisors and what the advisors will be allowed to do are still to be determined. Let's see. NFL agent Lee Steinberg believes this potential rule change will move up the calendar for when agents will begin contacting athletes. He believes that the agent selection process could now begin in high school. And he's quoted here as saying, you look at who the beneficiaries are. For the one and done basketball player, by the time those kids get any brand, they're already in the pros. This will primarily impact quarterbacks or a major superstar. You could think of Johnny Manziel or Tua Tagovailoa or Jameis Winston, players who early in their careers established a brand. Great points there. Zach Lucero, what do you think about that part about the agents?
And I just think it kind of goes along with what I've been saying is you'd hire an agent to help you take advantage of your target audience, your audience. I think they're just
so now.
And I also feel like we are seeing now in sports people representing themselves as well, and I think that's the whole like entrepreneur mentality, do it yourself, like self-made type thing. So I think people are gonna use these agents as like a jumping off point, and then be so self-sufficient at a point where that kind of gets cut out.
Paul Rodriguez.
Man, it's good information. This is just all around good for sports. It's good for the student athlete. It's good for their families. It's good for us talking about it. I'm just glad that, private industry was able to put pressure on, an oligarch like the NCAA to come and move forward with these types of changes so that the individuals who have the skill set can be compensated for it. Yeah. And I'm just happy about it, man. I'm really excited that this is happening because it's just and it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, and the NCAA recommended that all divisions have their proposals fully drafted by October 31st of 2020 and voted on no later than January 31st of 2021. There's no guarantee that the recommendations made Tuesday will remain the same, nor is there any guarantee that NCAA leaders will vote to approve whatever is proposed in October. If the NCAA votes to accept new rules, they are scheduled to go into effect no later than the start of the 2021-2022 academic year. So we're talking a little bit more than a year away, guys. This is not far away for these student athletes to start hiring agents as sophomores in high school. This is going to change the game. It's going to change the game at all levels. Like Zach said, it's going to change the game from Division III to Division I to JUCO to everything. I think the potential for these athletes to make money in different ways, not just being in the NFL or NBA or in a major sports leagues, this is going to change, just everything. Just like everything's being changed right now with the way we live, everything in the NCAA is going to change once we make this, this huge transition to where the NCAA players are going to be able to make money off their own likenesses. All right, Recon Athlete, episode number 73. Chris Sanchez, Paul Rodriguez, Zach Lucero on the line. Get back to the NFL real quick. Jameis Winston, he was mentioned in this article. A guy that had a brand, well before he got into the NFL, mainly, just because
mainly
he was
crab legs.
Yeah, I was going to say that mainly crab legs. It could have been Jameis Winston's crab legs. He could have done that, like bubblegum shrimp, But, the Jameis Winston, former quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, has now signed a 1-year deal with the New Orleans Saints. Taysom Hill going to be the third quarterback, even though you for some reason, was it both you guys or both of y'all or one of y'all that said he was the next heir apparent for Drew Brees, for Taysom Hill I'm talking about?
It was me.
It was you? Okay. So Jameis Winston going to New Orleans, 1-year deal. Is this just insurance, or do you think if Jameis can learn anything in a year, he might be a stopgap for the Saints once Drew Brees decides to move on? Paul,
he's getting paid he's getting paid $1.1 million to learn how to play quarterback and not throw interceptions from Drew Brees. I mean, how could I be wrong when Taysom Hill got broken off for $21 million? He got 2-year extension, $21 million. I mean, and I'm supposed to believe Jameis Winston is going to be the second string quarterback for 1.1. I'm not buying that. Sean Payton felt bad for Jameis Winston and said, "Hey, come hold the clipboard for 1.1 million, learn how to play quarterback in the NFL, and then maybe you'll get him a bigger deal after this year, like Teddy B."
So you're saying that Jameis Winston on the depth chart's not going to be the QB2?
Oh, he will be, but if y'all really watching this game, no, he is not.
Okay.
You can put whatever you want next to his name. That doesn't mean that's who he really is.
Zach Lucetto, any take on this? Jameis Winston to the Saints for the year?
I disagree with Paul. I think Jameis Winston is going to be the new Teddy Bridgewater. I think the person who suffers the most out of this is Taysom Hill, because he finds himself again behind a more prototypical quarterback. And I feel like you're in both scenarios with Jameis and with Teddy Bridgewater, the Saints kind of took a waiver on a broken quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater with injuries and Jameis Winston with interceptions, and they're just kind of taking a chance on a guy who has so much upside and put him in a place to succeed like New Orleans and letting him turn into a quarterback. And then Taysom Hill, I think they paid Taysom Hill because you can't put a price on the value that he puts on that, has to that organization in terms of the things he does. Kind of how we were talking about Jalen Hurts the other day is he really worth a first round value? And I said, well, yeah, maybe he is, because of what their potential plans for him are, and have him do something like Taysom Hill. I mean, how much do you pay a guy? Like, how much you pay a guy at X position. How much do you pay a guy when he at X position when he also plays Y position and Z position?
Fair enough. Paul, rebuttal?
I remember Zach saying Taysom Hill didn't have any value a couple of weeks ago. And then we have this contract extension 3 days ago. So I understand what Zach's trying to say about having value in other senses across the field, all over the field. But at the end of the day, Taysom Hill's getting paid like a backup quarterback, and Jameis Winston's getting paid by like a third string quarterback. Like I said, I understand that you just put whatever you want next to their name. But at the end of the day, unless Jameis is getting reps, his interceptions are still going to be there. You have to take the reps to stop throwing picks. You have to read the defenses, get the timing with your receivers, because you can throw 1,500 yards, you can throw 30 touchdowns, but if you're still throwing 30 interceptions along with it, you're not going to make any difference. You're not going to have any changes unless you're having the reps. So I really don't see that.
So you don't think in practice that Jameis Winston is getting the reps throwing to the second string guys?
And warming up, yeah. A scout team, yeah. But at the end of the day, if you're not throwing with ones, and if you're not developing a relationship with the top receivers on the depth chart, how are you improving?
How is Taysom Hill developing relationships with the top receivers on the depth chart when he is one?
Because like I said, his value is pivotal to him being on the field. And if he's going to be able to throw in packages on goal lines, if that's going to be implemented in practice, he's getting that relationship with the one. That's where the difference is between the two quarterbacks.
Okay. I was waiting for Zach to come back, but that's okay. Recon Athlete, episode 73. We're talking about Jameis Winston. Going with New Orleans Saints. So Paul Rodriguez, it's week. Let's say NFL starts on time. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Hopefully,
it's week 10. Drew Brees goes down. Who's coming off the bench to take the snaps?
Jameis Winston probably.
Okay.
So then what's the
Zach?
We're talking about heir apparents and we're talking about QB2s. Wasn't that not the conversation?
Yeah.
Isn't
okay?
But wouldn't the heir apparent also be a QB2 though?
I guess not the Paul.
Not in my. I told you, not in my eyes. And that's the difference, is because the value that Taysom Hill all over the field is a greater asset than him playing quarterback. That's why I was telling you that there's a difference between a QB2 and an heir apparent. Okay. I understand it doesn't make sense to y'all. I get it.
So then why is Aaron Rodgers? Why are you saying Aaron Rodgers should feel threatened by the Packers getting Jordan Love? If he's just a QB2, doesn't mean he's an heir apparent.
Because Matt LaFleur and their GM, I think is like Gustafsson. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. They're tired of Aaron Rodgers. There's reports coming out that they don't like his passive aggressive attitude, and they went out and traded up in the draft to go get their heir apparent Jordan Love. That's the difference between the two quarterbacks. Jameis Winston is damaged goods. Jordan Love is somebody that the Green Bay Packers administrator or executives and head coach feel is going to be the replacement for Aaron Rodgers. Jameis Winston, I don't feel that Sean Payton is going to be the replacement for Drew Brees. So
basically, Jameis Winston is there just in case Drew goes down. Taysom, it's
Teddy Bridgewater.
And so then maybe next year, the Saints, maybe the next year or 2022, they draft the heir apparent. So are you saying the heir apparent to Drew Brees, or the guy that's going to take over the franchise quarterback status for the Saints, is not on the team yet? Or do you think?
Saying it's Taysom Hill?
You saying it's
I'm
Taysom
saying
Hill?
It's Taysom Hill. Correct.
Okay, so I'm going to say that that guy's not on the team yet. I just don't think. I mean, I don't know. I just don't believe it. I just don't see Taysom Hill in that aspect, I guess. Maybe I haven't watched the Saints enough. Zach, anything else on that?
I agree with you. I don't think Taysom Hill. I don't think they paid Taysom Hill to stay because he's the heir apparent. I think they paid Taysom Hill to stay because he's invaluable to the team in being someone that can play 19 positions.
Okay, fair enough.
I think that's the difference.
Fair enough. Paul, are you good? Do you want the last word, or are you good on this?
No, man, I'm good.
All right, Recon.
Like, what's the point in claiming an heir apparent if you're just going to keep signing guys to be QB2 and you say a QB3?
Yeah, I mean,
right, Chris?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that the guy that's going to take over the franchise as the franchise quarterback is on the team yet. I don't see Taysom Hill as the guy. Obviously, you don't see Jameis Winston as the guy. He has a stopgap at a QB2. I think that it could be somebody that they draft in the future, or maybe somebody that somebody that's sitting on a bench somewhere that could be a Jimmy G style and come over to the Saints from somebody else's bench and take over as the QB1 for the Saints once Drew Brees leaves and goes to NBC.
That'd be like Texas saying Hudson Card is the heir apparent, and then Hudson Card sophomore year they bring in a transfer. Hudson Card junior year they bring in a transfer, and Hudson Card senior year they bring in a transfer.
Okay.
Yeah,
I get you. All right, Recon Athlete, episode number 73, Chris Sanchez, Paul Rodriguez, Zach Lucero. I want to shout out, birthday shout out real quick to my dad. Tomorrow's his birthday. We'll shout him out once again here at the end of the show too. But I was just kind of reminded of that right now because I'm going to play some Willie Nelson later because they did that on the horn all day. So shout out to Snoop Daniel. other topics as assigned. I've already thrown out a couple out there. Zach, do you have anything you want to talk about?
My phone's on 2%.
Your phone's what?
On 2%.
On 2%.
How is your phone? How's your phone always on low battery?
I don't have to be on my phone all day, so I don't really charge it. I just let it be.
Okay.
Then if you don't, then why would you leave it on the charger?
I don't need multiple charges throughout the day. I just let it charge and let it die.
You let it die, man. Just let it die. Paul Rodriguez, you got anything else?
No, man. I'm just excited that we're talking about sports, and like you brought up the idea that MLB is trying to come back in June. It's like the draft kicked off like a slow beginning to like the sports, era again, and it feels good that it's coming back. I'm happy to see it.
All right, so wear your mask out there. Keep wearing your mask. Keep social distancing. Try to keep that curve down, and hopefully we can get all these sports back before we know it. And summer temperatures are coming back for sure next week, especially here to Central Texas. All right, Zach. Before your phone dies, you want to give any shout outs?
Yeah, shout out to me.
All right, Zach shouting out himself. Paul, shout outs.
Shout out to Roadcaster.
And Roadcaster. Paul, shout outs.
Shout out to you, Chris. I hope you're getting better, bro.
I'm good, man. Shout out to me for getting in a collision on Sunday. Zach, did you know that I got in a wreck on Sunday?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you to tell the story, but I don't know if
Oh yeah, man, I'll tell the story real quick. Other topics as assigned. Actually, so I was coming back from my parents' house. I went down there. It's kind of crazy, man, because I ordered some WeatherTech floor mats. Y'all seen those, like the commercials?
Mm-hmm.
And I got sold on them, because there's nothing else to do besides shop online right now. So I ordered some, and I went down there and picked them up because I had them delivered to my parents' house. And then on my way back, I was getting off at 35 at airport, and this U-Haul was pulling out of one of those U-Haul places and went across 2 lanes into my lane and took me out. So I'm okay. Actually went to the doctor this morning, got a clean bill of health, full range of motion on everything. But the car's totaled, and shout out to my dad for letting me use my old car. Birthday shout out to him. But yeah, I was pretty much on the phone with Geico like all afternoon. Hashtag no ads. But they've been pretty good. They've been pretty good to me. But yeah, it's been kind of stressful because now I got to go car shop. Should I get a car or truck, Zach?
Well, we're not going to have the same car anymore.
I know. We both have Fusions, but you had the hybrid. You're bougie. I didn't have the hybrid.
Yeah, maybe after they total your car and you get a new one, you could just take mine and be like, "Are y'all ever going to pick up my car?"
Yeah, there you go.
And then we could both get new cars.
We both get new cars. All right. Paul Rodriguez, what do you think? Car or truck?
I think you should get a truck.
Okay. If I get a truck, do I automatically go buy cowboy hat and boots? Zach Lucetto.
Chris, the parking spaces at your place of residence are like 6 centimeters wide. Where are you going to put that truck?
I don't know, man. I thought about that. Paul, if I get a truck, do I go back immediately grab boots and a cowboy hat?
You're telling me you don't already have cowboy boots?
I don't, bro. I know.
Man, what a shame.
Zach, do you have cowboy boots, Zach?
No, I don't have cowboy boots.
Man, y'all need to just get your Texan cards revoked right now.
I know.
Okay, so go get the boots. And plus, your parking spaces are a little bit bigger than 6 centimeters. Doesn't the Tahoe park next to you?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I think you'll be fine. Get the cowboy boots.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to shout out.
And you work in Manor.
I do work in Manor. Shout Manor. Shout Manor as
Oh, Manor.
That's far.
It's not far, man.
It's like far to him.
It's 15 minutes from me. Don't you live in Pflugerville or something like that?
Yeah, and I work in Austin, so I had to get a car.
Yeah. Yeah, you had to get a hybrid.
Yep.
You liberal. All right. I'm going to shout out to my dad once again. Birthday shout out to him tomorrow.
Shout out U-Haul.
Shout out U-Haul. Shout out God, of course. And my mom, down in Buda. And shout out to everybody that was on the watch party tonight. And shout out to Zach and Paul for, bringing the heat every Wednesday night and Saturday morning. We will see y'all Saturday morning. Paul Rodriguez, do your thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, if y'all are enjoying the podcast, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. Everybody on YouTube, hit the bell. We'll let you know we upload. We go.